So good morning. Welcome to Stepping Up Kosher for this week. Today is the grand finale of Stepping Up Kosher. And we've been in the laws of milk and meat, which pretty much has made up about half, I would say. Because I think this is the 10th class on milk and meat. And it's only about the 22nd or 23rd class of the whole Stepping Up Kosher. So it goes to show you how much milk and meat becomes a big part of all this. And on that note, I want to take a moment to start off today. Before we dive into today's topic, I just want to talk about the way you apply the laws of milk and meat can also be applied to other laws of kosher. And I think that's why we made such a long time on milk and meat. That's why we spent such a long time on milk and meat. You see, you can take the same laws and really apply them, for example, to non-kosher meat. Right? So let's say, and this is a much stranger thing, and that's what they don't tell the laws about. So let's say, for example, you're in some place where there's non-kosher food being passed around, whatever it is, and you're cooking your kosher food. So I know for some of you this applies, for example, if you go to someone's house, a relative's house who doesn't keep kosher, something like that, and there's non-kosher food, and it's not milk and meat. It's maybe non-kosher meat that wasn't stored properly, etc., right? And one drop of the non-kosher meat splashes onto the outside of the thing, right? Most of those same rules, you still have to, I would still advise calling a rabbi to find out exactly, but most of the same rules on milk and meat would apply. Things like, for example, nat bar nat, which means that it's only touching the outside of the bowl that you're putting it onto, and then it's going to go from the bowl into the, right? Or things like it's cold, so therefore the taste doesn't transfer, or it transfers but you need to just shave off the edge. All these sorts of things would apply also to the other laws of kosher. Does that make sense? Now, there are various differences. So for example, one of the major differences is that chametz, which I could see somebody saying, hey, drop it, my chametz fell into a pot of kosher for Pesach stuff, right? So you drop of chametz, it's 1 in 60, it's good to go, right? It turns out it's not true. There are certain laws in certain categories where things change. So chametz, for example, one of the major stringencies about chametz is that it's isur b'mashu, which means the prohibition of chametz is even on a tiny drop. There is no minimal prohibition, you know? So therefore it doesn't become bottled. Now, whatever, today's not really the class on chametz, but just to share one fun fact, that's only true once Pesach starts. So before Pesach starts, it does become bottled. It does become nullified 1 in 60, and you can do that. So let's say if you're cooking something for Passover, but it's still pre-Passover, and a little bit of your bread, one crumb falls into a whole vat, then that's actually fine. I think most people would still be stringent because they would want to stay far away from bread, but on a technical level you'd be fine because it gets nullified before Passover, and then on Passover it's fine. A practical example of this is that whatever stringencies people have, sometimes those stringencies are a little less before Passover. So take, for example, peeling. Many people will peel all their vegetables on Passover. They won't eat the peel of any vegetable, for fear that possibly the peel of the vegetable came in contact with chametz. It's not just a fear, that there's people that are picking them are not Jewish, and they wasn't even Pesach, even if they were Jewish, they wouldn't necessarily be careful. And then they'll peel any vegetable they eat over Passover and then rinse off the thing, and then only eat it once it's peeled. Let's say an apple. Only eat the peeled part, right? But some people will say that before Passover, if you're going to grind it up and put it in some sort of dish, you don't need to peel it. They'll remove that stringency. I'll give you a personal example, then I'll take your question, Vicky. A personal example is sugar. Right? So in my family, we don't use, it's a tradition, it's a very, 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 very far off stringency. Most people do not do this. But in my family, we boil our sugar. We don't use the sugar as is, for fear that there might be 1 grain of flour inside there mixed in, etc. So we don't use regular sugar on Passover. We boil the sugar before Passover, and then we use the boiled sugar on Passover in whatever dish it is. Right? So it becomes like a liquid sugar. You guys ever seen that? It's like a liquid syrupy sugar. What is the benefit of this? You think to yourself, hold on, if there's a drop of flour, the drop of flour is still inside the sugar. The answer is that the sugar, once it's boiled, becomes now a dish that has, so if it has a tiny drop inside it, it's nullified, it's bottled to the rest of the dish. Does that make sense? So that's where we are here. Okay? And as part of that, comes the rule that before Pesach, so my mom, for example, has certain cakes, not really cakes, they're like nut, that are using like, nut flour and stuff like that. Rabbi Yoshi, we love the Nigunim. No, I'm also worried that the camera is picking up more audio than... anyways, okay, for the people on Facebook. So the nut flour, right? So I guess the only way she could do it is with real sugar. I've never made this recipe. I've never cooked for Passover, but I guess you can use sugar, and that helps, like, for the consistency. It's like a bonding agent. It serves as a bonding agent. But with liquid sugar, she can't do that. So she makes all those cakes before Passover and then freezes them. Cakes, whatever whatever you call them.
I like a new little 1 pound thing of sugar. That's what I do,
No, but the fear is that in the factory, 1 drop of chametz might have fallen into. I told you it's a follow-up fear. Not everybody does it. I certainly would not tell you that's the first stringency you should take on. There's many better ones beforehand. So she's not getting your matzah wet. That's a big one. Anyways, okay. So that was a little bit about Passover. But my point is that even though on Passover the rules are slightly different, a lot of the same rules will apply as applied to milk and meat. Not the 1 in 60 rule, right? But something else might. And so a lot of the rules that we learn today, you'll hear rabbis tell you, you should still call a rabbi if it's some sort of other law, or even with milk and meat, you should call a rabbi. But these rules might not getting applied. So I guess my point is that's why we spend so much time on it, because there's a lot of application to other things. Okay. With that said, we can dive into our finale lesson. It's very anticlimactic. Today, what we have left is we'd like to talk about washing molchig and fleishig dishes in the sink. So you think to yourself, well, this is not hot, right? Okay. So, if you have fleishig kelim, which means meat dishes that are designated for meat, and molchig kelim, which means dishes that are designated for milk, and they were washed together in hot water. Okay. Now, the hot water was coming down directly, meaning it was coming from a pot that was boiled on the fire. Remember, this is before, let's say, taps they're talking about, right? It's coming off the fire, but it's no longer on the fire. All right. So this also applies to hot water that comes out of our tap. Why? Because hot water that comes out of our tap comes from a tank which had a fire underneath it. So that would be considered a pot. But by the time it gets to us, it's already gone through pipes. So it's already off the fire, right? So if you used these dishes within the past 24 hours, but the fire has come, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. The first example I'll talk about is where the water came directly off the fire. So if the water is coming directly off the fire, then because you're washing these dishes together in boiling hot water, it doesn't make a difference whether they were dirty or whether they weren't dirty, or it was visibly dirty or not visibly dirty, because we're using the past 24 hours for milk and meat. So we're worried that in this hot water, the taste of the milk and the meat got mixed together. Nikki, can I ask you for a favor? She finished her cucumber. Can I get another 2, maybe? Thank you. Okay, now what if you used only one of them in the past 24 hours, but the other one not? Or obviously, if you didn't use any of them in the past 24 hours. So in that instance, look at this, Leah. What do we see to Nikki? Thank you. Okay, so if you did not use the vessels in the past 24 hours, or even if one of them was not used in the past 24 hours, and the vessels are clean, so we already know this rule, right? So now it becomes what we call noten tam livgam, which means the taste that's inside there is old, and therefore when they mix together, it doesn't make a difference. Even if you wash them together with hot water, then you're fine to go. Another instance in which you'd be fine to go is if you didn't wash the vessels together, right? But rather you washed them one right after the other in the same sink with hot water, in the same water even, right? So then even if they were used in the past 24 hours, you're fine, right? Okay. So in all these will all be cases in which you're allowed to do it. Okay. What about a sink? Right? It says. Let's say they're not being washed together, right? But you want to use the same sink. So he says a Baal Nefesh. Baal Nefesh means someone who is careful with his soul, right? Should be careful that in his house there should be 2 separate sinks, one for milk and one for fleishigs, one for milk, one for meat, in order not to come to the issue of washing the dishes together, or washing the dishes with the same water, and all these issues that we're talking about. Now, what's if you only have one sink? So you don't really have an option. It says if you only have one sink, so hamahader, someone who wants to be super beautiful with his mitzvahs, so he should never put the kelim, the dishes together in the sink at the same time, unless there is I'm sorry, that's for sure, he wouldn't put the dishes in the sink at the same time. But he shouldn't even put the dishes inside the sink, directly on the sink, but rather there should be some sort of separation between the sink and the dishes. So for example, they sell these, there's a few things they sell. They sell like a grate you can put at the bottom, right? But then it's still touching the side of the sink. Okay, not as bad, but still touching. They also sell sink inserts, which is what I have in my house. It's like an insert, like a plastic insert that goes inside the sink, has a little drain at the bottom, but they sell this on Amazon. If anybody wants to buy it, you're welcome to go out, yeah. The only trick is to try to find the one that fits your sink. Sometimes it doesn't fit perfectly to your sink, but even then it's fine. They sell it's like basically like a little plastic sink. It's got a little drain on the bottom, but you keep it in the closet under the sink. You pull it out, you have one in gray or green, one in blue, one in red, right, for milk, meat, and parv, and you stick in the sink as you're washing those dishes. By the way, they even sell ones that the drain can completely plug. That's what I have in my house. So for example, you have it on your counter, and you keep your dishes in it. Let's say you're not going to wash your dishes, like most people. You don't wash your dishes every few minutes, right? Or even once a day, you don't wash your dishes, right? So even if you don't wash every 2-3 days, your dishes can pile up as if they're in the sink. It's as if you have different sinks. You have one sink, but you have 3 different inserts to the sink, and you keep putting them in, and then you wash, and then you unplug the thingy, so it's that the thing, and then you use that, and you wash your dishes in there, and then take it out and keep going. So that is a very good way.
Could you have an insert that's smaller than the sink and use that?
Yeah, sure, same idea, yeah. But then you're like, to me, you're wasting sink real estate. So that's why I like to have a bigger one.
True, but then where do you put it?
Yeah, 100%.
If you have a
With
sink
your
that's a
cucumbers right here,
barn
see
sink,
that?
like I have,
Right.
and then where do you put this big plastic?
So I keep them in the closet under the sink. That's where I keep them. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not ideal. Okay, even if you put something between your dishes and the sink, he says you still should not wash your dishes with hot water. In other words, they shouldn't be higher than 43 degrees Celsius.
But they don't get clean.
What? No, that's not true. Because you use warm water, just not hot water. What? Because when you use hot water, that's when all the issues come. The moment you're using cold water, or warm water, which is cold halachically, right? Warm water is considered cold halachically. As long as it's not yad so as long as the hand doesn't recoil from it, which he's saying is 43 degrees Celsius. Now, I want to bring up another point that you might not think about when you have one sink. If you have a pot that has boiling hot something left over in it, let's say it's Friday night, you have leftover chicken soup, so there's a little bit of leftover chicken soup at the bottom, you want to pour it, it's boiling hot, and you want to pour it into the sink, right? You should not pour that kind of thing directly into the sink. You should first put something like a piece of silver foil or something, pour it onto that, and in that way, you're not pouring boiling hot of something into there, which may cause all sorts of issues, which I don't want to get into now. And then after that, you should rinse. Obviously, you should rinse soap whenever, anytime. If you wash dishes for milk, you wash dishes for meat. After you finish, you just wash the sink, which I think most of us are used to doing anyways. You take a thing and scrub down the sink to get rid of any little piece of cheese, little piece of grease that might be somewhere or there, somewhere on the sink. Okay. So basically, these are some practices. If you have one sink that you're going to use it for both, these are some things you can do. Fun fact, I have a housekeeper that helps with washing dishes in our house. What do I do? So first of all, I do 2 things. It works with some other habits in my life. So first of all, I have little children at home. So I right away, as soon as I move into any place, or as soon as I get a new hot water tank, I ready to go to the hot water tank, and they have a place where they want the hot water to be recommended, right? And I turn it a little bit less than that. I never want boiling hot water in my house anywhere. Coming out of any sink and anything that helps with the children, so that if one of them turns the knob by mistake, there's never scalding hot water coming out of the bath. But it also helps for the kashrut of the sink, that there's never scalding hot water coming out of the sink. I actually have gone to other people's houses, so I have 2 sinks, and I put my hands in there and just turn it on to the hottest, because that's what I used to do in my house, and scalding hot water comes out. I'm like, oh my God, you guys have the hot water on really hot. In my house, even if you turn it on the hottest, it never gets that hot, because on the hot water tank I have it set that way. That's number 1. Number 2, another thing that I do is I tell my housekeepers, in my house I have a rule, you're not allowed to wash the dishes with gloves.
With what?
With gloves. You're not allowed to wash the dishes with gloves. Can anybody think what that helps? Mm-hmm. What?
Because they can't make it hot enough with their hands.
Very good. In other words, by default, they will never turn the water on that hot. I don't need the water to be that hot. Wash at whatever temperature you're comfortable with, but you cannot wear gloves. The moment they're wearing gloves, people wear gloves to wash dishes. Right? Sometimes people have designated gloves. What happens is they're using. So sometimes it's just your hands don't get dirty, but it's also to protect your hands so they don't get hot from burn from the scalding hot water, right? And so I tell my housekeepers, you can't do that. So now automatically the water never reaches a temperature which is yad soledas at which the hand recoils, because they will never turn the water on that. Does that make sense? So it's just usually lukewarm water or even warm water, but never hot water. Does that make sense?
Is it even possible?
These are some pro tips. What?
Is it even possible to use
Oh,
an electric dishwasher?
absolutely, yeah.
Because if you're mixing
No, so
every-
you should not use an electric dishwasher for both.
right.
You choose your electric dishwasher, either choose one or own two,
You have to.
if you're bougie like that.
Yeah. Sounds like that.
You can have two dishwashers, which
Right.
are for milk and for meat.
Right.
But if you don't, you only have one.
choose.
Choose one. My advice is choose meat.
Right.
Because probably on Shabbos you want to put all your dishes in, etc. So, for example, I grew up in a house. We had a dishwasher. We had only one. We had a meat one. Yeah, but you cannot use. And this was a question was asked earlier,
Yeah.
and it really belongs in this class. I know it was asked earlier. I looked it up. But you cannot kosher a dishwasher either. There's no way to kosher a dishwasher. So a dishwasher has to stay one gender, one category.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about water, right? That is hot water. You have a pot of hot water. And let's say there's going to be, it's okay, leave her. She might clean up some of it, and then eventually at the end I'll get cleaned up. Thank you. Let's talk about a hot water. You have a vat, a big whatever, something of hot water. Yes, so please have some breakfast. So the big vat of hot water, and there's soap in there, and you're going to, let's say, soak your dishes in there, right? And there's soap in there, and by mistake, they didn't soak, but you inserted into there milk dishes and meat dishes, right? Maybe sometimes people have like a pre-washing place, right? So it didn't soak for hours, but for a few minutes you stuck it in and you just kind of rinse it off, and then you go to the sink to finish it off, right? Something like that. So if you have hot water in a sink in which you had soap, or any sort of cleaning product, and you see this comes into play here. Why? Because cleaning products are very often sharp, okay? Some sort of sharp cleaning product. In such a way that you know that this, we don't mean sharp, sharp is the wrong word, we mean pungent, like what's the word I'm looking for, like acidic.
Like your onion.
No, not like onion, like soap, or, yeah, basically, like soap, or bleach, or something like that, right? What?
Plastic?
Okay, maybe that's good. Oh, I heard that you bumped your head, huh? Oh, does that really hurt? You bumped your cup, It's almost time for a bottle. Let's start with a pacifier. Okay. You want to sit with Tati? Okay. All right. So why does having something abrasive or caustic, etc., inside the water, why does that make a difference? Why? Because remember how we said that when taste is over 24 hours, it becomes like corrupted taste. It's like bad taste. And so it's not enhancing taste. So it's not an issue. Soap does the same thing. Okay? This nosim tam with gam. So you can have these two dishes, maybe a milk dish and a meat dish. They both were used within the past 24 hours, right? And you're putting them into the hot water together with soap. That soap does the same effect as it being older than 24 hours. Why? Because basically it becomes like a disgusting taste. All right? So that is that.
You have to put it in the water, not just take a sponge and wipe it with soap. You have to put it in soap and water.
No, we're not talking about a tip to do this. We're saying, let's say you did it by mistake. Let's say you had a tub of soapy water, right? And the water had soap in it, which makes it therefore very, it's disgusting. It makes any taste that's inside the hot water and soap is going to make anything that's in there disgusting. You want it? You're done? Okay. Let's end off with one more very practical halacha, and that is the surprise mix-up. Okay? So you're preparing for your Shabbos meal, and you go to your meat drawer where you have all your meat forks and knives, etc., right? And you take them out the set, and all of a sudden you notice, hey, there's a milk fork here. Maybe it's a different design, you have a different set. You're like, what is this milk fork doing here? And now you have no idea where it came from, whether when it happened, did I wash it together with it, did I actually use it for something hot, etc., right? In such a situation, you're actually allowed to use it for its original use. In other words, let's say it was a meat fork, right? And then you found it among the milk forks. You're still allowed to use that one as a meat fork. You don't have to be worried, that it ended up inside the hot this, the hot that, etc. Why? Because this is what we call in Hebrew a spek steker. In other words, it's a doubt of a doubt of a doubt. First of all, it's a doubt that it even got washed together with the other category. Second of all, it's a doubt whether the water was hot. Third of all, it's a doubt whether there was soap or not. Right? There's like too many doubts here that it's not really an issue. But still, it might be good practice to take a kashrut in case you want to be up to church. It's a nice thing to do, but you don't technically need to. And with this, we will conclude Stepping Up Kosher for today, which will also conclude the entire series of Stepping Up Kosher. And I want to take a moment now, once again, to give a little plug for not next week, the weeks after this class. So next week there will not be a Sunday morning class. There will be breakfast. You're all welcome to join for breakfast. There will be a rap club, but there will not be a Sunday morning class. We'll take a 1 week break. And the week afterwards, you want to hold it up so everybody can see? Hold it up. The week afterwards, we'll be starting this class, which we're calling the Siddur Unpacked. Okay? The Siddur Unpacked is basically a class in which we're going to go through the Siddur. We're going to start with the morning blessings. So we're going to start off with Moda Ani. We'll go all the way through the whole morning service. And eventually we'll do Mincha and Ma'ariv as well. The afternoon and the evening, maybe we're going to get the Shabbat. We'll see how long the class goes. We'll see how much interest there is. But for now, it seems like there's a lot of interest in this. So we're going to start from Moda Ani. And we're going to go through each lesson. We will each have this book, which is a textbook that goes together with the Siddur. It actually goes along together. Each prayer by prayer, we'll do it together. And each prayer we're going to try to do 3 or 4 things for each one. Number 1, we'll answer the question, why do we say this prayer, period? There's lots of prayers that we could say, there's lots of psalms that we could include in our prayers, and there's only certain ones that made it into the prayer. So why is this part of our prayer? What was so important about it that we felt it should be in our prayer? That's one question we're going to ask. We're going to answer. A second question we're going to answer is, what is this prayer doing here in the order of the prayer, right? Like in other words, it comes out at the beginning, it comes out at the end, it comes in the middle, it comes before this and after this, why is it here? So in other words, we'll get a sense for the sequence of the prayers. Number 3, we'll try to understand the origin of the prayer, where it comes from. Tehillim, somebody made it up, the history of the prayer. And finally, we're going to actually go through the prayer itself. What does the prayer mean? And that we'll do in the Siddur with English. And then we'll move on to the next prayer, and the next prayer, and the next prayer. The idea is that slowly we will level up your prayer to be more meaningful and more impactful the next time you open the Siddur. Okay? So some technical things about this class. It is a free and complimentary class. Breakfast will be served every week, just like this class. The class is available for sponsorship, just like now. The breakfast is available for sponsorship for $36. The class is available for sponsorship for $36. And these textbooks are an optional purchase. We'll have some available here. If you want to buy one of your own, they're $40. I just picked them up from New York. That's usually cost. If you want to buy it today, you can buy it today. That's why I have them on the table. If not, I'll have them available in 2 weeks as well. So again, next week there's no class, and the week afterwards we will be beginning with our brand new class, the Siddur Unpacked. I hope to see you all there.
2 weeks, right?